Hello and welcome back. My name is Adrena. I am the owner and accountant here at Accounting by Adrena. And a question I recently received on my Instagram account was basically how to stay organized. And especially as an entrepreneur, I can surely understand how hard it is to stay organized because you have to wear so many hats and there are so many things going on and you only have so much time during the day. So in this video, I'm going to try and break it down and make it as easy as possible for you. So let's dig into it. I think running a business means you are juggling a lot of moving parts. So without a solid organization system, things can quickly get overwhelming. So I would say the very first thing that you need to do if you are buried, inundated with papers or mail, invoices, whatever the case may be, I would say start with today's mail. So if that means that you have a bunch of invoices that have come through, and you need to get them paid, start with today's mail and then work yourself backwards. If you're trying to figure out how to organize paperwork, that would be one thing. Start with today's papers, whatever that means for you. So if you have a pile of paperwork, let's get to it. And the first thing I would say to this is it's just going to be easier if you break it down into different categories. So think in terms of larger categories, okay? So I'm talking about like finances, operations, marketing, legal. Think as broadly as you can. And there are two different ways in terms of what you're going to be organizing. So if it's paperwork or if it's digital files. So I really want to tackle the paperwork first because I think that's where a lot of people struggle, including myself, with keeping things organized. So let's say you just check the mail, you got a bunch of paperwork in, and go through it at that moment. There's no time like the present, right? And we hear that over and over again, but this is truly the case when you want to stay organized with all of your files in your file system. So start with today's mail, whatever paperwork that means for you. Now, you need to have designated areas, right? So if you can see behind me, I have my file organizers here. Now, the bottom one that I have behind me is what needs to be filed. If there's any other paperwork that I had on top, that would be the paperwork that I need to go through right away. And this is really important because the IRS is mailing hard copies of things to you. And so if you're not actually collecting it or going through it, there could be things that you might be missing. So start with today's and work your way backwards. So get it right away, open it up, have a designated area for it. So my process is the mail goes into this file folder, and then once I've gone through it and it needs to be filed, then it goes to the bottom of it. And then once that is organized and sorted, then I go into my filing cabinet and I put it away according to those larger categories like finances, operating, marketing, and legal. And that's really what's going to help you in terms of creating a system and process for yourself. So that would be like the larger piece of it of what I would recommend you to do and where to start. And the next thing is you want to make sure you're keeping all your invoices, all your receipts, all your financial documents in one centralized location. So especially when tax season rolls around, you are ready to go. So for myself, in terms of tax season, if I'm getting all this paperwork mailed to me, I have one designated folder in my filing cabinet that is for 2024 taxes. And this is where I deposit all of my paperwork, whatever that comes through. Even if it's something that is emailed to me, if I wanted to print that out, I could put it into that designated file folder. And then when it comes time to do taxes, then that would be the file folder that I grab, and that's what I can go through and work on immediately. So making sure that you have your paperwork centralized to one location is really going to set yourself up for success and help you avoid that last minute scramble. Okay, so let's talk about digital files at this point because I feel like there are a lot of people that don't know how to organize their files digitally, and then you just have that one download folder that has all of the files in it. Does that sound familiar? Am I ringing any bells here? Okay, so digitally, I do the same type of thing, and I will provide to you like a screenshot of what I'm talking about. But really, you just want to go by Think of larger categories and then break it down into smaller categories. For example, if I'm talking about my own bookkeeping stuff, I have a bookkeeping folder, and then I have all of the files that are by year: 2025, 2024, 2023, 2022, 2021, so on and so forth. And in each of those file folders, I have whatever pertinent documentation I need to keep. Anything related to my financial statements, when I go through and do my own bookkeeping on a month-to-month basis, then I have a place to deposit all of those digital files. Now, when we're talking about invoices, I have something completely separated for that. I have a separate folder for invoices. And depending on which vendor it is, I either have two folders in there that say current year or prior year. And so I know that the current year has all of the current documents in it. Or if it's a previous year, then I can go into the other folder that says prior year. So that I keep it pretty simple when it comes to digital invoices that I receive. I download everything, so I make sure I have it all backed up to Dropbox, and I still keep the hard copy in my email. So if I get the email, the digital copy in my email. So if I get the email, I have a filing system in my email account as well. And we can talk about that later if that is something that you guys want to discuss as well, is just how to keep your email organized. In terms of forever files, this is what I want to talk about. So there are specific documentation that you need in order to make sure that your business is legit at all times. And you want to make sure that these forever files are kept in a safe place, in an accessible place, and that you have a backup of it somewhere. So I'm talking about business formation documents, tax ID records, contracts, trademarks, and anything legal, any legal agreements. You want to make sure you keep these in a secure and easily accessible place, whether it's a locked cabinet or a cloud storage system. So you can use like Dropbox or Google Drive, whatever the case may be. I think in terms of how long you want to keep your documentation, a good rule of thumb is for 7 years. And that is just because the statute of limitations can go back between 7 to 10 years. I don't know if the IRS has updated anything, but I'll make sure to take a look at that after and put it down in the notes in the description box below. This would include tax returns, payroll records, bank statements, and receipts for major business expenses. So if you are in doubt, make sure that you check with your accountant about what should be kept longer and what you can shred or toss. So usually at the end of every year, I like to go through my files and make sure that everything's organized for the upcoming year. In terms of my physical files, I like to go through those every once in a while because you don't realize like how fast time flies until you're like, oh, this is from 20 years ago. Why do I still have it? So you can go ahead and shred that. Now, when it comes to vendor and customer files, you want to make sure you're keeping those separated in well-labeled file formats for your vendors and your customers separated. And you want to organize them by contract agreements, invoices, and correspondence. So make sure this makes it easy to reference past deals, payment history, or any other disputes. So we talked about hard files, we talked about digital files, and we talked about going through your paperwork immediately, like upon receiving it. And I feel like we've talked about the who, what, where, when, but we didn't talk about that, like how. In terms of how, I have a calendar event set up on my calendar, recurring weekly, that says organize your file. And basically, what that means is going through this tray and making sure that I'm going through it, working on anything that's pertinent, important, high priority, and then making sure that I categorize it in these files right here, and then I can file it away once a week. So that's my process, is making sure I'm going through it daily and then making sure I'm taking care of anything high priority or high importance. And then at the end of every week, I like to file everything away. Now, does that happen 100% of the time? No, absolutely not. Are there times where my paperwork does pile up and I have to set aside a good chunk of time? Yes, every month I do that actually. And you probably have seen me go through my paperwork in my monthly planning videos, because that, in my opinion, that is all part of the same process. I'm not only making sure that I'm keeping myself organized with all the physical paperwork that I receive, but also in terms of my schedule and making sure that I am planning ahead with the week ahead, with the month ahead. I also wanted to take a moment to make sure that you've seen or heard me talk about Asana. If you have not, I have Asana videos and I'll go ahead and link those down below. But I wanted to just give a plug for Asana because Asana has really helped me stay organized, not just professionally with my bookkeeping and with my team, but also with social media, making sure that I have everything captured here. In fact, my notes for YouTube videos are right in Asana, and so my whole team can see my notes. And if there's anything that is confusing, they can always reference that if they're helping me with preparing my newsletter or uploading the video. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that Asana has been a huge help in helping me stay organized as an individual because I also have personal stuff on Asana that I make sure to take care of. In fact, like all of my annual appointments are on there, and it's just a nice little reminder. Everything is centralized in one place. I can always hit that My Task button and see what's coming up for that day or that week ahead. Anyways, I just wanted to put that out there. I know keeping your files organized is not the most fun thing to think about or the most fun topic, but it is necessary. It is important because we are entrepreneurs and we are trying to make sure that we have legitimate businesses. And this is one way that you can make sure that you are striving to have a legitimate, thriving business. All right, friends, that is all I have for you guys today. If you have any follow-up questions or any comments, anything like that, feel free to drop it down below and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye for now.